Shall we begin?
Football Feast.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
PA and Charch. Hashtag Faith Radio.
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
We're roughing the passer.
Yeah!
Hold on to your butts.
Oh, my God!
59th time's the charm. From a season worse than Ebola to winning in NOLA.
I mean, pick your poison with that defense. It is second and goal. Handoff. Jones tries to get the left edge. Running for the pylon. Touchdown! Aaron Jones runs the Minnesota Vikings to a 6-3 lead. Oh, good. From their own 10, Darnold shotgun again. Four-man rush. Sam loops one. Jefferson, yes! At the 45 near side. It's a 43-yard hit. Darnold to Justin Jefferson. And that's a connection we're going to learn to love all season. Darnold shotgun. Aaron Jones to his left. Jefferson wide left. Now Jones heads out to the right. Fourth down. Pass to the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Sam Darnold putting on a show.
The Vikings.
You think it's funny? First and 10 for the Vikings from the Giants 21. Darnold, shotgun, puts Justin Jefferson in halo motion to the right. JJ started in the backfield. Darnold is going to throw to the end zone. Man wide open, caught. Touchdown, Vikings! Jalen Naylor with his second career touchdown. Sam has thrown 2 today, and the Vikings lead 20-3. You homer! And here comes Daniel Jones, 12 of 22 for 111 yards. Vikes lead 21-6. Jones. Oh, he threw it to Van Ginkel. Touchdown! That's the 4th touchdown in Andrew Van Ginkel's career. And he read Daniel Jones like a book. Empty backfield for Danny Dimes. 3 receivers left, 2 right on 4th down. Back to pass, throws to the end zone. And it is intercepted by Harry the Hitman. Harrison Smith with an interception, the 35th of his career. And the blowout continues with the Vikings leading by 22. Turn it over, old Danny Dimes. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Everybody ready to have a good time today? Yay! Yay! What's going on? Make a little noise, Buffalo Wild Wings, Maplewood. Minnesota Vikings are 1-0. Make a little noise for that. How about that against the old Danny Dimes? Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Friday football. We're at the feast. That's Paul Charchian, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paul Allen. Technical guidance by Jared Wells. We have promotions in the street team over here, and we welcome you to the Friday football feast. Chad Greenway will be here about 10, 15 minutes from now to help us figure out how to slow a vaunted San Francisco 49ers offense, or is Chad Greenway going to be here to help figure out how the 49ers can stop a vaunted Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones-related offense? Can I get a witness and a raucous round of applause for that 1-0 football team? So what do you think about all that, Charchi? And good morning.
You know, the 49ers come at you with so many different weapons, whether it's Deebo Samuel in the backfield, whether he's catching a bubble screen, whether he's across the middle, one of the toughest tackles in the NFL. No player had more yards after the catch last year than Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
So he's one facet. Brandon Ayuk, a little rusty last week, probably in a better better spot now to contribute this week. And then George Kittle, of course, one of the best blocking, receiving combo tight ends in the league. He's a massive threat. If he stays in line, you have to contend with the blocking. If he goes on into pattern, you have to worry about him, and especially after the catch. Another great after the catch player. And now Christian McCaffrey's down. Let's just unfurl a guy that nobody's ever heard of, who's 90% as good as Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
Jordan Mason, electrifying in week 1. Now, so you've got your hands full defensively trying to figure out what do you do, who are you going to take away on a play-by-play basis for the Niners, because you can't stop them all. You just have to try to play-by-play figure out who they want to go to, take that guy away, and make him find some other way to beat you. This is a tough spot, and defenses, all the defenses that play this team have to come up with ways to do it. The Vikings will be tested big time here.
Well, 8 can be an operative number here. 8 can be an operative number. If the Minnesota Vikings can beat the San Francisco 49ers, that means they will have beaten them 8 consecutive times in the state of Minnesota. The 49ers the 49ers have not beaten the Vikings in Minnesota since 1992, when former Viking Amp Lee scored a couple of touchdowns, and there were some pretty good Niner squads along the way. And also, 8's an operative number for the Niners in that Jets game on Monday Night Football. They scored on 8 straight possessions. 8 consecutive possessions. They found a way to get points. This is a formidable foe coming to the palatial purple paradise this Sunday, and good morning.
You talk about the 8 consecutive home wins, which I did not realize. Never going to forget the Brett Favre throw back of the end zone, which is one of those 8. Maybe it's, I don't know, number 2 or 3 or 4 in the sequence.
Yeah.
One of the electrifying moments, really, history of Vikings regular season football, as far as I'm concerned. And that one is still, and that's when the Niners were not necessarily a great team then. They were an emerging team. That win was absolutely epic. And I remember your call very well. I assume that was a big moment for you, too.
Yeah, it was fun. Greg Lewis's first play as a member of the Minnesota Vikings, back right of the end zone in a game the Vikings were going to lose. I mean, Mike Singletary, Sean Hill, Manny Lawson, Patrick Willis, and those 49ers, they had the team absolutely beat. But then Favre found Lewis, and oh my heavens, here we are. The producer of 9 to Noon is Eric Nordquist. He's back at the 651 Carpets Plus studios, and he has a Vike Bite for the Feast duo. And Vike Bite is provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Gentlemen, good morning in Maplewood. And this Vike Bite is Justin Jefferson related. Speaking to the media, here's what he had to say about one of his cohorts, Jordan Addison, potentially not playing.
Of course, we would love J.A. and his ability to be out there on that field is scary, just him being out there alone. But his ability to make plays is something that we're going to miss, of course, if he doesn't play. But, of course, we have Speedy also. We have other guys in our room to make plays also. Me and Jay aren't the only ones that's making plays out there.
So Jordan Addison has not participated in practice thus far. We'll see what happens later today. The ankle injury, a focal point going into the weekend. But here's what Justin Jefferson said on a guy that also scored a touchdown, Jalen Naylor.
His ability to learn the playbook and be dialed into where he needs to be on that field, and learning the F, learning the Z, learning the X, learning the whole playbook is his goodness of really being out there on that field. So that helps him a lot. But, his just ability to make plays is what really makes him. But that's what everybody's going to see out there on Sunday.
So that's Justin Jefferson, and I'm headed your way, Charch. A year ago, no Justin Jefferson in the game against the Niners in prime time, but TJ Hawkinson, a massive part of that victory, 10 catches on 11 targets, and you had that second option. Well, into Sunday, you're going to see a lot of doubling of Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison, if he's in, he makes a difference. If it's Jalen Naylor, what do you make of that entire situation into this Niners game, Charch?
I don't believe Jordan Addison will play in this game, and I think the prudent thing to do here, it's week 2. He's already struggling with this injury going back to training camp. And I think you just got to rest him here and get him right for the rest of the season. And that puts Jalen Naylor in a spot to be a starter. And tip of the hat to him, where, he came into training camp, and Naylor was just one of several guys that had an opportunity to go win that number 3 spot for the Vikings. He hammered it. I mean, he was by far the best of the receivers, and he distanced himself from the pack early in training camp and then just continued to look great. We saw him get time at the end of this game, got the touchdown last week, wide open. Was not like some brilliant play, but obviously well-designed defensive lap. Vikings took advantage of it. Naylor, I went and looked up some of Naylor's some of the original musings on Jalen Naylor from when he entered the draft class 2022.
Yeah.
He came in as a player who had a lot of promise, but had been hurt constantly and had battled injuries throughout college. And he came in with the dreaded injury-prone tag. But people really liked his upside. Good speed, not blazing speed, 4.5. I know they call him Speedy. 4.5. He's not like Xavier Worthy out there who's going to run like a 4.3, but fast enough to get it done. A guy who they felt like at the NFL level to take the next step would need to work on separation. And that's something we'll be watching on Naylor to see, has he become a more complete route runner than he was coming out of college. And so we get Naylor's first ever NFL start. We'll get a long look at him here. And honestly, we need him to do something in this game. No TJ Hawkinson, no Jordan Addison. You know the 49ers are going to roll extra coverage to Justin Jefferson. They're not going to lose because Justin Jefferson put up a $180 and 2. They are going to make the Vikings win with secondary and tertiary targets, and Jalen Naylor's going to have single coverage through a lot of this game. We need him to step up and make some key catches throughout this one.
Down with that, Nordo.
That's Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed grass-fed beef. You can go to thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. You can buy online, local co-ops, Coburn's locations. They are proud sponsors of Gopher Athletics. Back to Maplewood.
Here's the deal. One of the great defensive players in the history of Vikings football, Chad Greenway, joins us on site right around the corner. After that, Gabe Henderson from the Vikings Entertainment Network at 10 o'clock. And Alec Lewis with The Athletic and theathletic.com. He'll be here at 11 o'clock. That is the Feast Trio on air, on site, online, on demand, and on fire today with Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. We have a fantasy feast coming up at about 10:35. We'll also get into that Buffalo-Miami debacle from last evening. And on behalf of the KFAN street team, the promotion staff, Jared Wells, Nordo, and Paul Charchian, thank you very much for joining us for the Friday Football Feast. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood. Come on out and say hello. We'll be here until noon. Back after this.
PA and Charch. Hashtag Faith Radio.
I love it, baby. Woo! No way! We're happy for you.
In your face, Milwaukee! Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. One of the great defensive players in the history of Minnesota Vikings football and one of the great tacklers in the history of Minnesota Vikings football has arrived. Can we get a witness? And a raucous round of applause for Chad Greenway. All the cameras are flashing and the video's rolling because the game changer has arrived, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits. I'm just gonna get right to the hardcore of the whole thing because we got an undefeated operation here after embarrassing the Giants. However, like early in the week, Nordo and I were like, okay, nationally and somewhat locally, a lot of people are like, yeah, but it was the Giants. Yeah, but it was Daniel Jones. Okay. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I get that. But I mean, holding any National Football League team to 0 touchdowns, that's quite an accomplishment. And, you run 51 plays, which really was 41, because we had some third preseason game terrorism at the end of the game. And, those aren't plays where they're necessarily trying to score. So you score 3 offensive touchdowns in basically 40 plays. Well, that's pretty good, too. Then I went to watch him back the game, and we're going to get into this in a little bit. And the Giants were never beating the Vikings. But there were some things in the game from a Giant standpoint where it could have been a little different and a little more interesting, and we'll get into that momentarily. But off that into this one with what we all saw Monday from Next Level Shanny's team. that when it comes to the A topic, at least for me, being pulling the San Francisco 49ers out of their running game, getting them out of their running game, their comfort zone, their nookie blankie, and what they want to do. As a defensive player, like what are some keys to the game to making that happen? And good morning.
And good morning. First on your first point, you never apologize for winning the NFL.
Thank you.
You go to New York on the opener, 100 seasons of football.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a little bit of a lazy take coming from somebody who's never been in it to understand how hard it is to win an NFL game, no matter who it is you're playing, where you're playing, the situation. We went in there, we played well, we won, defense played great, offense made enough plays. But having said that, this is a different beast coming in now. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know that. And I'm so excited that we get the Niners week 2. Because now you know exactly what you have. And you know if you're a legit contender, if you can go toe-to-toe with these guys, win or lose in a tight game. Mm-hmm. I just love that we're gonna level up to where these guys are, and we know they're good. I think the thing with this offense for the Niners is they have an extension of the running game with Debo in these easy throws, easy pitches, easy handoffs that make it easy for Purdy to put up good numbers when he just says, hey, I'm going to throw the ball 12 yards to my left in a little bit of a screen, and he's going to run for 40, right, and break 75 tackles. But the thing that scares me about this game early is the physicality of it, because they're going to come in with a hard-nosed approach, and our tackling ability in the open field in 1v1 situations in early season games where we don't have physicality at training camp anymore. That's the one thing that does scare me, because that's what they do well.
Now, you saw a couple of things off of that. Number one, so much bad play in week 1. About a third of the teams were just almost non-functional in week 1. At some point, the pendulum's got to go back to these preseason games and getting some starters in, right? I mean, teams are taking L's in week 1 and looking completely discombobulated, and it oftentimes just relates to the fact that their starters aren't playing in the preseason anymore.
Yeah, I think there's a shift where the rules in the preseason and offseason have shifted to a point where we can't have good early football.
Yeah.
I also think you look at the overall talent level of the quarterback position in this league, and it's not as high as people think.
Right. Brady's done. Breeze is done.
Top few percent, and I think if you look across the board, you know, certain people you're like, not sure about him, right? And I think what we got out of our quarterback was exciting. Love to see him get to his 3rd step, 5th step, 7th step in timing and get the ball out of his hand.
Yeah, didn't the timing look sharp?
It looked good, especially for early season, if he can be on, especially we talked about the Giants last week. Can we block their front four? Nasty front four. They gave us some problems, but at the end of the day, we were able to function, and we have another beast coming in this weekend with different challenges with their scheme. But if you can keep Sam on schedule, off his back foot, he has the talent level to make these throws. We saw that. It gets you exciting. Now, can he handle it against a team like this?
I thought the Giants game was one of the better overall performances by a Vikings offensive line when you consider the opponent and who was on the field. I thought that was a tremendous job. Sam Darnold had contact twice.
I don't think Christian Darrisaw has ever played a better game in his life. And I'm not one to be like, okay, my man got paid, so therefore we're going to have some big fat dollar bills weighing somebody down. I'm not that guy either until we see consistently, oh, hey, wow, this is a different person, just got paid. No, that's not Christian. But the first game, to respond the way he did and play as powerfully and as engaged as he did, I think that amplifies what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that the interesting part about when you're in that locker room and in that environment, it's easy for us to talk about these highs and lows, and the Giants game, we're not going to give us too much credit, because it's a win, but as a fan, you get to ride that roller coaster.
Yeah.
We can believe that our team's going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but when fans rode that roller coaster and you played on the team, you hated it.
Hated it.
Let's be straight.
Hated it, because there's a lot of lows that are coming too. I'm that fan now. I'm booing them constantly.
Stop that.
No, but when you're in the locker room, the maturity of this football team is going to show itself this week, because you go on the road, you get a win, you feel really good. Now what's Justin Jefferson doing now that he's got his bag? He's now a leader, a young leader. How engaged is he in the process of keeping the team on the rails? How engaged is Harrison Smith? Obviously tremendously engaged on the defensive side of the ball and getting guys prepared to play this week.
Yeah.
And knowing what they're up against. I was texting with Harry earlier this week, they know. I mean, this is not a surprise. This is one of the best football teams in the NFL and has been for a while.
You mean they know how good the Niners are?
Yeah, and they know, and they also know it's buckle the chin strap, because the physicality is going to be leveled up. Not that the Giants aren't physical, but the Niners just bring a different energy. And it comes from their leadership with Kittle and Samuel and all these guys they
Yep.
have. And the defensive side of the ball with Fred Warner. I mean, they are well established. But guess what? They got to come to our place in our home opener.
House of Pain.
And we just talked about how hard it is to win in the NFL. And now you're on the road at our place with a fan base that's going to be crazy, ready to rock.
On a short week.
And I love that it's on a short week and they're traveling.
Does that really matter? I
It
mean, you lived it
100%
many
matters.
times. Does it?
It doesn't matter as much early in the season.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're
But
still
the travel
Still
bit.
fresh.
Yeah. But the reality is they're traveling to the east.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's easier to travel east than it is to travel west.
Harder to travel east.
Yeah, I think it's easier.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually
I
people
do.
say the opposite.
For me, it was.
So
Okay.
the Niners having this game begin 10 a.m. Pacific would be, so unpack that. Like, why is that easier?
I guess maybe for me, when we went east, we played at night a lot, so maybe I didn't have as much of the issue with the play. Because
Yeah.
you go east, if you're used to a noon start, it's a 1 start. Obviously, what's up earlier, but the reality is these guys are up and engaged at 11 a.m. during the week, all week.
Right.
So it depends on when they're practicing. So I can picture that being harder when it's a noon start and they're all of a sudden they're going at 10. Because I never was a West Coast guy. I was always in
Yeah.
the middle of the country. So
Yeah.
for me going east, I thought it was always easier. But when you play in the West Coast, that makes a lot more sense for that to be harder.
Tell me, tell me about Andrew Van Ginkel, and I don't expect you to have broken down, the all 22 of his tape or anything.
I did not do that.
But we saw, we hoped he would be a rangy guy who would cover a lot of territory. We saw that.
And what was he?
He was a rangy guy who covered a lot of territory. And then, of course, he posted the lightning fast interception touchdown, second fastest pick six. He now owns the 2 fastest pick sixes of
way.
the last 5 years.
That's
They're both
awesome.
Andrew Van Ginkel.
I mean,
Yeah.
we get to claim him. He's one of us, Northwest Iowa kid.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at who they added and how they added these players defensively on the free agent side, which we talked about this last, you don't tend to love that.
Right.
But the word of the year for me is versatility with this team. I mean, just this defensive side especially is the guys who can play multiple positions. You can put him up with his hand in the ground. You can rush the passer. You can make a really hard catch. Those balls usually get batted down or dropped. I mean,
Right,
99% of the time.
They're coming very fast.
It was just, it's one of those things. You can call it luck. You can call it just, whatever you want to call it. But the reality was he was in the spot to do it, to catch it, to spin and go make a play. Just love his, again, versatility. And, you hate to get too excited about a defense after 1 week with Daniel Jones playing quarterback.
Well,
But it is what it is, and they played so well together.
Okay, and since you went there, just to land the plane on what I said in the initial part, where it was the Giants, it was Daniel Jones. The Vikings were never losing the game. They were going to win the game. It may have been closer, had a few things happened, and here's what I'm talking about, because I think this is a perfect situation for coaches. And you would obviously know 1,000 times more about it than me, but you blow somebody out. You hold somebody to no touchdowns. All right. Your new quarterback looks good. You leave the game with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau with a combined 1 tackle. You put the overrated Thibodeau on a 0. Just trying to run around people like Unique Ngakoue. Dexter's Dexter. You got to deal with him. But
Dexter, my Lord.
Here's the point.
What a beast.
I think it was 7, maybe 8. I think it was 7. And I think it would have led to 4 first downs. Well, I mean, whether it's Bellinger or Darius Slayton, I mean, there were guys that were open for first downs, and Dimes either just flat missed them, and not seeing them, bad throws. I mean, down by the ankles, up by the helmet, not leading them, or in Slayton's case, Bellinger once, there were drops. So the point being is that if you're Flores or O'Connell offensively, and with other examples, it can be like, that was great, guys, and here comes a monster, and we beat them last year. However, if these 7 things happen in this game, we might be in trouble.
Yep.
Isn't that kind of a perfect storm for a coach?
I think so. It's easy.
They get to be happy and complain.
Well, it's easy to turn the film on, right? When you walk into the film room on Monday after that game, as you're breaking down all the ways that we should have been beat, could have been beat, and how we can get better. And if we don't, we're going to take our L this weekend.
Thank you.
I think the 2 factors that I'm looking at this weekend, one being our running game and controlling some of the clock.
Yep.
I think is going to be really, really important. The running game looked a lot better than I expected. Aaron Jones looked really good.
Man, Aaron Jones he looks like every bit as good as he was when he was torching the Vikings as a member of the Packers.
He torched us, and he's a good running back. So it's not surprising. He looks really good in the system. And I think ball control on our offense to be able to stay ahead of the sticks and not getting those long yardage situations just to keep Sam in a good spot. And I think the second thing, talking offensively, is can we win those 1-on-1s in those quick hitters, 3 and 5 step drops, where we're talking about Sam was really good with the timing.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden you have to eat the ball because your guy can't get open because he's blanketed and covered, now you have to eat it, make a decision, extend the play, use your feet, make a bad throw. That's when things go awry or have in the past for him. So our guys, not having Addison's going to hurt, but our guys being able to get open on time will matter a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. You talked about how important it is to get Aaron Jones going in this game.
Yeah.
Niners run defense, it was awesome last year. They just put Breece Hall on like 3 yards per carry, and Breece Hall's great.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming, but you know what? We have players too, right? I mean, that's the end of the day. This is the NFL. We talked about our offensive line play and Aaron Jones, what he can do. I love the looks we're giving. Makes it complicated to defend the run game when you give them a better look. So
the offensive line for the Vikings is, by most people's estimation, a better pass blocking offensive line. Not the road grading maulers. These are not gigantic guys who just exert their will and push defenders back. That's not the kind of offensive line we've got. I think you have to get creative in how you use Aaron Jones to find him some space, because your offensive line isn't going to give him the first 3 and 4 yards against the 49ers. Their deep run defense is just too good.
One of my favorite things to do when you're game planning is to steal things from the other team you're going to play.
Yes.
And the Niners give you, not that we can't be multiple and have all these plays in.
Yeah.
But I love to give them a dose of all the things they see from their own offense, because
that's awesome.
Because what it is, and you just said it, is how can we be creative and getting the ball in the hands of our athletes, right, in space, and give them a chance to win. We have those guys too. Probably not to the level of the Niners, right, as multiple as they are, especially not having our top tight end. But reality is we need to take a book from that and get the ball out of Sam's hands, extend the running game to a pitch or to a easy throw, let our athletic offensive line get out in space and make some blocks. I would just love that, and I would love for them to just give them a piece of the Shanny playbook on Sunday.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, they owe us. I mean, they don't owe us, but they owe us. And when the Vikings, it was week 7 last year, and I believe it was Jefferson throwing a pass to Jordan Addison. Okay, so they're heading to the west side of U.S. Bank Stadium. So think you're on the Vikings bench. Jefferson right in front of you loops a pass over to, I believe, Addison. And I can't remember what happened. I'll figure it out by Sunday. It wasn't a touchdown for sure. So now let's fast forward to the Super Bowl. All right? It's late in the Super Bowl, and here's Jawan Jennings throwing a pass to Christian McCaffrey. It was the exact play the Vikings ran against the 49ers. McCaffrey gets in from 21.
Wow.
Yep.
So when you're talking about, they know that we know that you know that we know, and everybody copies and everybody steals and things like that. Well, that was the highest of high-end examples. They had a play in their back pocket they saw O'Connell run in week 7. They ran it in the Super Bowl for a super huge play.
Yeah, I think you look at those things and you just this is a copycat league, always has been, always will be, and eventually this thing will come back around to be a run-first league. You watch how this thing cycles over the course of 2 or 3 decades. I watched that receiver series with Debo and being involved, and Kittle being involved. It was shocking to me the change of their offense without Debo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when you want to look at who is the straw that stirs it, it's him. As much as I love George, Hawkeye through and through, McCaffrey, love, right? But it's Debo.
All the talent.
They have talent everywhere, but it's Debo is what stirs that drink for sure. And I think you have to, when you're looking at how to game plan and defend.
How do you game plan and defend Debo Samuel?
Well, the issue really is, you have to have, if you're going to play man coverage and you're going to rely on one-on-one, right, it makes it really challenging because they have athletes everywhere that can beat you. If you sit in zone, right, you have to get a pass rush. And that's where it comes down to. If you sit in zone, can your front four, without adding somebody to the pressure, get to the quarterback and get the ball out of his hands in a comfortable way, or tip a ball and make something happen? Because now in a zone, you have all eyes looking back, and you have multiple hats on the ball making tackles. And they're going to put Debo all over the place. And you're always going to come out and you're going to identify where he is, everything pre-snap. He's in the backfield, they run this package. He's here, inside, he runs this package. He's in motion, different package. I mean, so you have to just identify him almost on every snap because they know that he's the guy.
So Debo Samuel is, let's just take a random play, and he's lined up in the slot. You, defensive coordinator, you're Brian Flores, and you're going to play man. Who's the man? Who's the defender you're putting?
Not me.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
no,
it's
not
like tackling
you.
Eddie Lacy in space.
Right.
I'm disinterested in that. I want to watch that you have the
not
lower
really
half.
interested in that, right?
I think you rely on experience. You look at your best tackling guy that can cover.
Yep.
I would love actually Gilmore because I think experience. He's going to know what's coming before it happens. And I think when you can take an advantage and step, he has experience in how to make that tackle, how to make that play, the physicality that comes with it. It's a hard matchup. That's what makes him so good.
Well, what do you do when Debo runs 8 times for 23 yards and a touchdown like he did against the Jets? Now, that's Debo running 5 catches, 54 yards as a receiver. But see, that's why I think he's every bit as, if not more important, to the overall scheme of what Shanahan does than Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Christian's high end, and I get all the points last year. Debo does it from every single angle, every single way. And by the way, when they're running McCaffrey, that's Debo down the field working on you as one of the best run blocking receivers in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at Debo, and especially watching that series, you get a kind of a look at how guys think.
Yeah.
And for as tough as he plays, I don't think he was very, very tough in that, like last year. Like any little thing that happens, he's checking himself out of the game. And there were several times, and for those that watch that series, you know what I'm talking about, where I'm like, this is Debo Samuel. Like, he's literally one of the toughest guys in the league. Like, he's not going to step out of that game. He's going to keep playing through it. So, heavy hats early.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
Injuries are part of the game. You take it because that thing, it doesn't disintegrate, but it changes so much in what they can play, what they can call, and they have guys that they try to kind of use as Debo, but they're not Debo.
Right.
I think Jennings was kind of that guy for them when he went out.
Yeah. He did okay.
Hats to the ball, man. Hats to the ball. And you have to see it. If our defense is flying around when they do get the ball in any of these guys' hands, because Kittle, guess what he does after the catch?
Yeah, runs.
Probably the best, maybe one of the best ever statistically.
Yep.
He is.
You have to have,
insane.
our defense has to be buzzing the whole game.
I think Josh Metellus is an interesting guy to match up against him.
I love that.
Because Metellus has got slot experience. He played, 200 snaps in the slot last year.
Very few vertical routes out of Debo.
You don't get You don't get the vertical route, so I don't need all the speed, right? And Metellus is not super fast.
I like that.
And he's physical enough to actually make a tackle on Debo. So, we're going to get lots of different looks on Debo, but I think Josh Metellus is the matchup that I feel like, at least on paper, could be most successful, and I'll be fascinated to see if Flores deploys that.
And again, what do we talk about our defense? Versatility.
Yeah.
Talk about Metellus, a versatile guy who can, you know what? We have a guy actually that sort of matches up in those short to intermediate routes that can tackle and be physical because he's got a little linebacker to him. So
he does.
I mean, that's a great call, Charch. I like that.
Now last year
Let's text Flores
in the Week 7 victory over the Niners at US Bank Stadium, Minnesota opened a 10-0 lead, then led 16-7 at halftime, then led 19-7 at one point after an 11-play, 47-yard drive that took like 5 minutes. All right, then the Niners scored. Eventually, it was 22-14. Here's the point: isn't it factual that if you want to pull Kyle Shanahan out of what he wants to do, he wants to run to set up the window dressing, the play action, and the gotchas with Juszczyk and Kittle and things like that. Well, you can avoid that by having, this is high end, obviously, but having the lead A 2-score lead B. But how about gassing them? 11 play, 60-yard drives early in the season. They're on a short week with travel, ball control, winning the time of possession, keeping the lead against them to take away the run-pass marriage. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it just leads into Aaron Jones in our running game. And if our offensive line, extending the running game to easy throws, to extend first downs and just keep things chugging along, and then take your shots with JJ down the field when you have an opportunity, it's going to be vital to us staying in this game and winning this football game. Because inevitably they want to control that.
Yeah.
And they believe that they can control that. They're going to control the game, and they'll win the game most of the time if you allow them to have that. I think the first quarter is going to be very interesting to see how this thing plays out from a run-stopping standpoint. Are we going to invite another player into the box and bring a ninth in?
Yeah.
Can we cover after if we do that? A lot of things that'll be interesting to watch and see how our defense is going to, how aggressive we're going to perceive to be and then actually be and drop into coverage and play it safe and sit in some zones. It'd be fun to watch.
Chad, Sam Darnold was the backup quarterback for the 49ers all last year. And now here, I want to know how much real intel he's got, you can get in that scenario, and especially as the quarterback, because as a quarterback, you have to know how the whole offense functions. I mean, this is not like being a position player.
Yep.
If you're a guard switching to the opposing team, I don't think you know as much as the quarterback does. And so, how much intel can he give and can he help with specific players? Here's what we have to worry about with Debo. Here's what he does well, or schemes, or anything else. Can we download from Sam Darnold some real advantages based on his knowledge of the Shanahan system from last year?
My assumption would be is that Darnold sat with KOC and with Flores both and did a download, a debrief, probably either late last week or early this week, probably Monday, Tuesday. And they spent a couple hours going over those things and see if they can gather any intel that can help.
Right.
And, Sam, obviously playing quarterback in the NFL, he's very smart and he understands. I can just picture, myself, if I take Zimmer's defense in the end of my career and go someplace else, I could have told them a lot about how we identify protections, how we react to protections, how we're going to adjust within our coverages based off of different looks and different motions and different spacing. So he's going to be able to do that times 10 from an offensive side of the ball, and I think also help defensively. Help our offense understand their defense, but help our defense understand their offense. Really, both ways.
Yeah.
Because he's practiced against that defense every day, and he understands what they're going to do and what their calls are going to be and what their signals mean and all this fun stuff that you can pick up on. And without being Michigan Wolverines illegally doing it, legally pick up things and go win that game.
Not that you're a bitter Big Ten guy.
No,
definitely not.
I watched that one on Netflix too. And the sign stealer thing.
How is it good? I've heard it's really good.
Oh, wow, I haven't seen it.
I'm sitting on my Peloton, so I'm just grinding through these Netflix shows.
It's a documentary?
It's a documentary. It's pretty interesting.
But documentary without actors, it's like real?
It's real. Yeah. It's cool, actually. And it goes to show you that it's rampantly happening across football.
I bet it is.
It's just that
you think it's happening in the NFL,
He
too?
was just the best at it.
Well, that's why everybody covers their mouth when they talk. I mean, even on the sideline. That's why. I mean,
have you seen the Dan Campbell, was it a TGI Fridays or Applebee's?
Oh, it was the bomb. That was fantastic. Cover your mouth.
They'll never see it coming.
Hey! Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
He's not leaving. Let's just give him a little love for making all these treks to Buffalo Wild Wings. PA and Charch feasting at Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood on your home for Minnesota Vikings football, FM 100.3 KFAN.
Minnesota is so hot.
Down memory lane we go with Chad Greenway, who has played the he played the 49ers 4 times in his career. Would you care, quick twitch, to venture what your record was?
I know you got one win.
Yeah, that's 3-1.
You got
3-1.
win.
Bam.
Wow, nicely done.
All right. So
we know the loss because we talked about it before that week. Week one loss.
Gross.
Let's go chronologically. All right. 2007. You beat them at Candlestick 27-7. That was the 13th game of your career.
Wow.
You had 13 tackles in the game. What was noteworthy about the game for the Minnesota Vikings?
Kevin Williams touchdown.
Hey,
All
there.
right.
Well done.
And Candlestick. That was sweet.
Yeah.
That was fun playing there.
That had to be his only touchdown, right? Did he?
No, he had one more, I think.
Did he?
Can we talk about how great of an athlete that guy is?
Oh, man.
The bomb.
His kids are freaks down there in Arkansas right now,
Really?
too. Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Does he live in Fordyce? Like where he was
Probably.
from?
That sounds about right.
All right.
Yeah,
2000.
he's so good.
Okay, so you're 1-0. 09. Favre to Lewis.
Sweet.
I'm just gonna let you stream your consciousness with what Singletary brought that day, how tough they were, and how well a friend of yours and a former Viking, Sean Hill, played in that game.
Yeah, they were ready for us big time, and they were hyped coming in, and the problem is the Singletary shtick can't last. It can't from a coaching standpoint. I mean, it's not sustainable. So. One of those deals where they were on the rails hard, heavy, and good early.
Yeah.
And by whatever, week 4, 5, 6.
Fizzled.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable.
But that game, talk about the end of the game, right?
It was so
underrated on that last play is the hit Favre took from Manny Lawson right after he threw the pass.
I remember that stick, and I remember being on the sidelines and watching the throw just like a fan. And it was like you could not believe what you saw. And Greg Lewis, of all people, right? Just great guy. Coach, I think he's still coaching the league.
Yeah.
But just the catch, the toe tap back of the end zone.
I'm glad you brought up the toe tap.
Toe tap swag.
And the fact that you just felt like this is different. Like, this is different here.
Yeah, that was the game where the Favre aura was real for us, right? We had seen it.
1,000%.
We had seen it and not wanted it all those times.
Yep.
That game was it week 2, week 3?
It was early.
Week 3.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh my God, we're on the receiving end of the Favre magic.
Well, the Favre aura was very real in the NFC Championship game, too, when he threw ill-advised fashion threw across his body.
There he is.
Well, that's part of it, too.
That's what
you get the good with the bad.
But you know what? I mean, wouldn't you have taken, like you're not going to know the highlights and the lowlights of the story, but if you're like, all right, you know, we're going to give this guy $20 million, there are going to be some, let's say, Greg Lewis moments, and there are going to be some drops. There are going to be some post-game press conferences after Sunday Night Football when you lose to Carolina by a point, where he's like, you know, I've never had a coach consider pulling me only down the point.
Right.
And then you're going to have an across the body that might cost you the season. So are you still in? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There were a lot of mites.
Yes.
You know? Okay. So 2010. Now, this is not you against the 49ers. This fascinates me. Trent Williams, the left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers.
Stud.
In his 15th year from Oklahoma, he'll be playing his 192nd game Sunday at noon on KFAN.
Unreal.
Oh, by the way, he started the 10th game of his career.
Wow.
Excuse me. In 2010, he made the 9th start of his career when Leslie Frazier got his first win, and you and Nacho were out there carrying him off the field.
Yes, that was fun.
That was Trent Williams' 9th start.
And Trent Williams is a beast, one of the all-timers that I've ever played against. If people ask me, like, he's in the list because he's as fast as you, twice as strong as you, and way meaner than you. and then reminds you of how good he is. And in not a respectful way, but yet you like him. It's the weirdest combination. It's like this little Steve Smith over there.
Right.
He will be first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
And
I will vote for him.
Yeah.
I don't even get a vote.
Yeah, well, sure. But your vote counts.
Lastly, 2012. All right. You had a 2-sack game against the 49ers.
Hey.
And by the way, that was the only 2-sack game of your career.
Yes.
2012. Wow. Who was the quarterback?
Alex Smith.
Bam, right here.
Wow, look at that.
So fast right now.
Look at that.
Boom.
Yep. So
coffee's flowing.
3-1 against the Niners. Linebacker Fred Warner. Okay, you're an elite linebacking mind, and Charch brought up Andrew Van Ginkel. Fred Warner is a 2-time first-team All-Pro. Yeah. So to say he's underrated, I just don't think he gets the shine that he should get league-wide for truly as good as he is.
Yeah.
7th year from BYU, went in the 3rd round, 2-time first-team All-Pro. Oh, by the way, the first game of his career was against the Vikings. It was the game that Garoppolo threw the pick 6 to Mike Hughes. Yeah. It was Cousins' first game, too. And in his debut, 2018 against the Vikes, he had 12 tackles and a forced fumble. And he's led the team in tackles 6 consecutive years, which is something like you either did at 6 or 7. Yep. So you can appreciate that.
Get on my level, Fred.
He plays in the middle. You didn't, but you were really good in pass coverage. He's really good in pass coverage. I mean, Fred Warner's the bomb.
Fred Warner is the bomb. I just don't know how he does. Having said that, you say he's underrated because you don't see the national hype that like a Patrick Willis got.
Right.
Yeah.
The Niners have had a lineage of really, really good linebackers. Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis.
Right.
You go back in the older days. I mean, just studs.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, because I agree that you don't hear him in conversation. I think it's because they have so many superstars that are in-your-face superstars like a Debo and a Kittle that I think kind of take the pressure or the excitement about how good he is maybe away. But he is just so solid in every piece of the game, and he truly understands how to anticipate what's coming. A little bit Eric Kendricks-like. Eric Kendricks is still playing at a high clip in this league because he anticipates better than anybody I've ever seen play football.
Wow.
His instincts are just at another level, and that's what Fred has, although Fred has every other measurable you want. That's why they pay him a lot of money, because he's an absolute stud.
At the Friday Football Feast, Nordo, mad producer, back at the 651 Carpets Plus Studios. He produces the show. He directs the show. But he also is the Covenant cleanup captain and also the fact checker as we go along.
I'm sure I did something wrong.
No, nobody did anything wrong.
Okay.
Kevin Williams had 4 touchdowns in his career.
Wow.
2 fumble recoveries and 2 pick sixes.
Wow, pick
04, 06, and 2 in 07.
Ring of honor.
Go with that big ticket.
That's very impressive.
you can't appreciate, like, maybe you compare him to like a Klein saucer, or like you can't imagine a guy being that big and that athletic. And like clearly, when Kevin came out of high school, he was a stud hooper, like big time.
Yeah.
And you get the feet, you get the hands, you get that athleticism, and then you go to Oklahoma State and put on 30.
Right.
We're going to move you to 3 technique.
Yeah.
But yet you're still a basketball player that's really athletic and makes Greenway look really clean and make all the tackles and shiny toy because he's taking on 2 blockers. And by the way, he's going to maybe second most sacks or most sacks from a 3 technique in our history.
Maybe.
Just a stud.
Behind John Randall.
John Randall's got to be right in there.
I'm sure John's number 1. And one of the greatest humans on planet Earth, Kevin Williams.
I remember we drafted him. Like, you've just gained a defensive tackle who can dunk. You're like, what?
Incredible.
Hey.
That's
incredible.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, defensive tackles that can dunk are fun to have because they're like 320, and you're like, how did you do that? How did you move that mass up to the rim?
But you've played with some defensive players who could dunk, and then after you watched them play defense at the NFL level, you're kind of like, did you ever consider basketball?
Maybe that was your true calling.
You're not very good.
You know?
Hey, Linval Hungry.
Yeah.
He's playing somewhere, right? Dallas?
Yeah, he is.
Dallas.
He's back with Zimmer.
Back with the Zim. I had him to the house a couple years ago. Nearly ripped my hoop out of the wall.
Shut up.
Dunk easy.
What?
Easy. I have it on video.
No way.
I'll share it on video today. Just to remind everybody how these guys are freaks. And yeah, this is what you deal with.
Linval dunking, I would never have.
Well, he's
guessed
also
he could do that.
6'6".
One of the
something like that.
Well,
probably
still.
probably 6'5".
Yeah.
Legit athlete at what is he, 330? I don't know.
At least.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed.
No sense.
The baseball team has Cincinnati this weekend. Gray Duck Spirits with the Gray Duck deck. I know you're tied to them.
Yep.
U.S. Bank Stadium. Gophers are at home. I mean, holy cow, is this a big week for the product?
We are everywhere now. We get to be in Huntington Bank.
Yeah.
We're just covering all the bases with sports, supporting every way we can. The Greenway Game Day Bloody experience at the 300 level at U.S. Bank Stadium. If you're going to the stadium, go to the Grey Duck Bar, grab yourself a Game Day Bloody. It's also the Longhouse, so we work with Daly's Bacon, Lola's Fine Hot Sauces, Bloody Mary Mix.
All right, this is what I was going to get into. I want to know what's in your Bloody.
And Tailgate Spices. So the Tailgate Spice Company that we've all seen out there, they're supporting the Vikes, so those 3 companies we're working with, so we're going to have some great fresh bacon in there, all the great products. So it'll be fun.
Here's the deal on the Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not
Here's the reality, Nordo.
Yeah.
If you're not going to make it spicy.
Thank you.
Horseradish. I want this thing to be. I want this thing to have some real
horseradish.
I want to remember it.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Make it memorable.
I don't want tomato juice. Tomato juice and vodka.
I'm drinking it at 7:30. Make me remember.
The best.
Right. I want that thing to have some zing.
You're the best, my man. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Hey, Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen, he's got to go. That was nice. He's a football snob, and this is a football snob type game this weekend at noon, pregame at 10, Vikings and Niners, KFAN. When we return, Gabe Henderson from the Vikings Entertainment Network will join us at Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood. After that, a fantasy feast. We will pepper the Paulie with some fantasy questions, and we will do all that at the Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood, courtesy of KFAN.